I think it's funny because like music wasn't something that I was like, I loved as a kid necessarily. Like I used to sing in home around the house all the time. But my mum like was a singer and she played music, but I guess she never like became a musician or a singer like in like a full form. And she really wanted us all to be musicians. So we all got like, not forced, but strongly encouraged to play instruments as a child, which I'm grateful for now. But I played the fiddle, so I grew up in Clare. But I pushed back a little bit. Like I didn't fully enjoy it because I was like, oh, like, I could go into this violin lesson on Tuesday after school. And my brother used to do guitar. My mum wanted me to like go onto the guitar.
Right.
And my brother just used to like hate it so much and hate teacher. And I always had this fear of having to do guitar, which is hilarious because guitar is like the only instrument I play now. But I feel like in terms of creativity, I was much more inclined to like storytelling. I used to love writing stories, used to love telling stories. And I used to like, I have this journal, like you know those ones that had like the locket on it.
Yeah.
I used to write songs in there, but they weren't songs. They were like, I guess, I remember I used to write songs about SpongeBob and stuff. Like they made no sense, but they were like my own like melodies with stories around them. And it's kind of funny because the way I kind of got back into music when I was like 17, 18 was through poetry.
Right.
And through writing again. So it was almost like touching back
Returning
that part
to
of me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. So that foundation of writing has always sort of been there for you. Do you think
Yeah.
anything specific ignited your want to sort of document your ideas that way, or did it just come naturally?
I have no idea. I must have like, cause I wasn't a book kid. I wasn't massively into English in school
Yeah.
either. But for some reason, I just felt very inclined. I think I daydreamed a lot. Do you know, I was always like, I still do. I kind of just like tap out. I find it really hard to like stay in conversations. I kind of just tap out. I
Yeah.
daydream a lot. So I think maybe it's like ADHD in me. I don't know. But I feel like that kind of encourages me to write. Because I'm kind of just I'm just making up things in my head, do you know?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm very similar in that I wasn't really into books as a kid. I wasn't a massive fan of English in school, but I've always liked writing things down. And I think maybe because it's a form that's so connected to art, like the storytelling element of it is so inherently rooted in language and
Yeah.
communication that it makes total sense, I think. But
But 100%, even in like, do you know, Irishness, being Irish.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's storytelling, it's that tradition, you know, and music of
Yeah.
like sharing song. And it was actually really cool. I went back to Clare a couple of weeks ago and we were in this pub and like it reignited so much for me. And I was like kind of not an open mic, but everyone like, it was like this band playing, everyone sung a song. And like every single person in that room either told a story or sang a song.
Yeah.
This like couple that were like from the middle of nowhere in Clare, this Gaelic talked region, they sang this whole like 15-minute song in Irish together. Like they went in between the verses. And I was like, this is what like we're meant to be doing, like we're born to do.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree. And I think especially when, like you were saying with your mum, there's
Yeah.
a strong familial induction type of encouragement into that way of being in the world.
Yeah, I feel like she wanted me to be a superstar because she could never be a superstar, which is kind of funny. I obviously like looked up to my mum a lot as a kid, you know, and I actually saw my communion. You know, there's a Live O books where everyone writes in their bits, and everyone in the class had like a little bubble of like, what do you want to be when you're older? And I was like, I want to be a famous singer. It's like at 8 years old, like obviously like look up to my mum, being like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna be a famous singer. So she definitely did have a massive impact on me, but I was such a shy kid. Like I just didn't know how to get the words together. But my mum was like the most confident, radiant person in the world. So it's like I wanted to be a singer and I wanted to, I guess, be a superstar, but like I couldn't even speak in rooms.
Do you think singing helped with that shyness?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Like I used to have to play like on, my relationship with music at the start was through kind of like church, which is kind of funny. Because I used to play the fiddle for like Christmas plays and the church, I don't even know what they're called. What are they called?
The sort of like carol services or like,
Yeah.
congregation type situations. Yeah.
Yeah, and I used to play the fiddle for those and I'd sing in choirs and things. But like I could go up for those situations and like I could like make some sort of like separation in my mind that like, oh, this is okay, like this makes sense.
Right.
But then like reading aloud in class, I was like, no, this is not okay. Like this is danger zone.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah.
It's almost like if you're, I think I've kind of like synopsized it in my brain that's like the reason I feel like more confident going on stage to sing. It's like these people are signing up for this. They're signing up to hear me do this thing. So it's okay. I don't have to be worried.
Yeah.
Whereas like, let's say you're trying to enter a conversation into like a new group of people. It's like, oh, they haven't signed up for this. Like, I don't know what to say to these people. I don't know how to win them over. Like, they're probably like, I don't want to hear what you have to say.
You've been given permission to like,
Yes.
you know, do what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's so key for any sort of creativity, like to curate that sense of safety and permission in a room will only benefit the art, you know. And I guess to your point, it actually benefits your day-to-day confidence and personal life as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think my kind of breakthrough in terms of confidence, so I would say like I'm a fairly confident person now in terms of like what I was when I was a child. But when I finished school and I was like 18, 17, 18, I basically was meant to go, to give it a little backstory, I was meant to go, like, I studied really, really hard for the Leaving Cert and I absolutely killed myself because I wanted to be a dietitian. Didn't get the points, ended up getting children's nursing maternity for whatever reason that was on my bingo card. And I was like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, I don't want to do that. So I took a year out and worked in a hotel. But during 6th year, I had the most amazing English teacher. And he just like reignited my love with English and poetry. And like,
wow.
I've never met him since. I really want to meet him because he like repurposed my life completely.
Yeah.
Because like from him and from like my love for poetry being reignited, it then made me write poetry like during this time when I finished school and writing stories again. And then that came into music and I wanted to put like those lyrics to a melody, yada, yada, yada. And then still very, very shy at this point. But I was introduced to a busker. He used to busk on Grafton Street. And my friend was like, oh, hey, like you should talk to this guy. Like maybe this could be something you could do. And anyways, long story short, started busking. Don't know what came over me, but decided for myself the most horrible situation, not horrible situation, but like, you know, scary situation.
Sure.
And started busking on Grafton Street where you're literally like screaming in people's ears as they're like walking by on their way to work. Like couldn't be a more, you know, what's it called? Exposure therapy.
Yeah.
And it literally it shifted my personality so much.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
What do you think, just going back to that English teacher who inspired you, what was it that he did, do you think, that managed to ignite this newfound passion for you?
I think in school, like English is always, it's very boring. It's always like taught in a very boring way. It's like it's never been exciting to me. I've always kind of like pushed back on it. I just thought I wasn't good at English. I was like, oh, I'm not good at this. Like I can't do this.
Yeah.
You know, but he just taught it in such, and you could see like from the teacher that he was just so passionate about it. And like, he must have been a poet or a creative in his own right, because the way he talked about it, like it was just like, he was so excited. And the way he broke down poetry and the poets he taught us, I was like, whoa, like I'd never been exposed to that, like that side of English before, and like how you can use words and create different like imageries and all these different things. And there was actually 2 English teachers, and I remember one of them, there was a poem that I loved, and he had the poem framed at home, and he was like, I actually have a couple of them. Can I bring it into you? And I was like, yeah, I didn't think he actually would. And like the next day he reversed them there into the car park, and he had this poem framed and handed it to me. I'd carried home on the bus. But there was that level of like, you know, like love for the language that I hadn't experienced before, that just like made me see it in such a different.
Yeah. That's definitely the power of love and passion for an art form, is just how contagious it can be, you know, especially when you're that young. But I think you're right too, like studying English in school, it feels very outward focused. Like it's not really about who you are expression wise. And so you get caught up with trying to like understand other people's work that you kind of forget, or at least I didn't connect it to the kind of writing I like to do for myself, like writing jokes or like random funny stuff. And that's just the weird paradox of teaching, I guess. Like if they taught songwriting in school the same way they teach most stuff, like for exams, I'm sure it would probably take a good few years until you're like, hang on, I can just do it like this.
Yeah. One of my friends who I used to busk with, like we were having this conversation about like how teachers have like, some teachers have changed. They're like, what's the word? Of your life? I don't know. There's a word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it. And he like, for this particular guy, like he really, like it really, really did. It was like, you know, either like complete opposite, or it was like having a fulfilling, loving life. And he actually wrote letters to all the teachers that he had that had changed his life, and he met up with some of them, and like
It's great.
they were actually so thankful to hear it as well. Like, because I think being a teacher can be such a tough,
Yeah.
shitty job.
Oh yeah.
And like to hear that you've impacted someone's life in such a massive way would be so like, okay, I'm something coming from this.
Because it's such an art form to get someone else interested in something. Like,
Yeah.
I feel any tiny sense that you're being forced to do something, there's like an immediate dislike towards it.
Yeah,
or-
100%.
yeah.
Like my twin siblings, what are they? I always say they're 5, but they're actually not. They're like 9 now. They're like, there's a massive age gap. And like, I feel like I'm really trying to like give the things to them I didn't necessarily have. Like, so like with English, I'm like on purpose, like bringing my journal up, like when I'm having breakfast, like doing something to little sister. I'm like, you should journal. Like, do you want to journal with me? Like, come on, let's write some stories. Like, I'm really trying to encourage that other thing. Like, I wish I was, you know.
You just want to do what you think you would have wanted someone else to do for you when you were younger. But it's like, even if someone was to do that for you, I think you turn away from it.
Yeah, you're not going to.
Even now for me, I feel if I don't have any agency in the matter, I sort of lose interest.
The same thing as when you're like pushed to learn instruments as a kid, and it's
right.
Well, I don't want to go to violin lessons,
Yeah.
But if I had maybe seen someone playing violin, it's like, oh, cool, can I do that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it just speaks to how rare it is, to get a teacher like yours who knows how to go that extra mile and in such a perfect way. Like, it's not about pushing something onto you, but more just about, it's like tailored toward fostering your own interest.
He was very like, he was very strict. He was like, if you don't learn this, like, I don't care. Like, he's like, it doesn't affect me. And that like level of like the agency is on me. There, like, that was probably part of it as well. I was like, hey, I've got to be on. I've got to learn this. You know.
Yeah.
And there's not that terrifying teacher screaming down your neck to do something. It's like, oh, I don't care if you do it. Like, I'm just here.
Yeah.
Kind of goes to that same point.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's funny. You have to be a certain type of person for that sort of approach to work, I think.
Yeah.
But no matter what the context is, and especially in art, like, it has to be about understanding the person or the people you're dealing with, and how to get the best out of them. And I'd say, like, producing wise for music or film or whatever, if that person is good at their job, they're probably really good at getting to know people within a time frame.
Yeah.
And like putting their own ego aside, and which, like, we're never really taught that in a class. It's something you have to glean, I don't know, from being social and having ethics and whatnot, I guess. But that's sort of the cool thing about art, I suppose. It's like a catalyst to practice that outlook on the world. Like, especially if you're collaborating with other people and you're looking to make the best thing possible, you've got to be like a kind-hearted, I mean, that shouldn't be the only reason, but like, okay, how do I manipulate these people to?
Okay, I got to be nice now.
Yeah. But tell me more about the busking experience.
The busking experience was crazy. It was like, I feel like it's not the same now as it was then, but it was such a community. And I remember at the time I was feeling super lonely. Like, I'd just left, like, I had a bit of a mental breakdown after the leaving cert. Like, I was just like, I was like, when I just put my mind on something, like, I really see tunnel vision. And that wasn't even the leaving cert. And when I came out of it, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, I don't know. Like, I just had bad anxiety and everything. Like, it was not a good time. So I kind of isolated myself from a lot of people and like in school and things. And when I went into busking and I'd seen this like community, I was like, oh wow, this is like, this is really cool. I think I busked for maybe 2 years. Yeah. And that was my full time. I left the hotel job. I got the good amp. And then I surprisingly made good money from it. Like, I thought that like busking was like, for like homeless people, like, do you know what I mean? I didn't see it as like, a prime earner or like career.
Sure.
But like, it really was like, and I was so like, wow, like I can do music, and earn from this. And then also like have this gorgeous community. We would all, because like you'd busk for probably only like 2 hours, but you'd queue and stuff in between. So you'd be out in town like all day long. And like, you're just always with people. And like, then you'd stay out and go to the pub with everyone and go to people's houses. And like, it was just such a beautiful community. And I remember this guy, I think he still does it, but he was like it was called DCT, and it was a busking channel, a YouTube channel. And he basically started like documenting like the busking community and like, was hanging out in the pub and stuff, as well as like the live performances on the street.
Right.
And it got this like massive following. So we all kind of got this like bump, like in terms of social media and people like following us and supporting us from that time.
Right.
And then I don't know what happened. I think there was different reasons, you know, for it kind of falling apart. And then COVID came as well, like, which was a massive part. Because actually before COVID, I moved to Berlin for a couple months and I just busked in Berlin. But it's illegal over there, so it's very much you have to like busk in the spot, and if you see somebody, you've got to like run.
Right.
Like when I think back, the level of confidence I had, like I lived in a hostel for like a month in between, like me and my friend, we both went over and busked, and then I got a sublet. But it was a very, very different experience to, I think in Berlin, like, I don't know about you, but I find it a little bit soulless. And I feel like almost when you're playing music over there, it's like people are like, wow. Like, because I feel like in Dublin, it's so, you expect it.
Yeah.
You know, you expect music to be there. And I feel like in Berlin, it was like people were so much more appreciative of it. There was like, wow, like, oh my God, I need this. So the money was amazing.
Yeah.
The money was so good.
It's kind of like putting color into like a black and white picture.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah, it felt exactly like that.
Cool.
I almost felt like the other buskers that were there, they'd had like their soul sucked as well or something. I don't know.
And from all these experiences, did you ever find that busking affected how your own music sounded, or no?
I started busking, like when I started kind of writing music and busking, I was very much folk. Like, was mad into Bob Dylan. I wanted to be Joni Mitchell. I still want to be Joni Mitchell, but in a different way. But like, I feel like, actually, funny enough, coming back from Berlin, I went into more of kind of like a soul direction. I think I was always very much, I loved like soul music and jazz music. And my mom always played Amy Winehouse, and she had this like this vinyl called Divas of Jazz, and she rebought it for me a couple of years ago. She used to always play it in the house, and I feel like my sound kind of leaned in that direction more so after COVID, during COVID. But while I was busking, I really wanted to be. I released my first song. It was called Flowers, and it was like Travis picking on the guitar. I was like ding ding, like it was country folk, like. And I deleted it since. But some people loved that era of KK Lewis, and they wanted to come back. But I very much parted with that side. I still love folk music, but I don't know.
How would you describe the music that you're making now? I mean, is it still that soul vibe, or has it evolved into something that you understand a little bit more in detail?
I think, I never know what to kind of call my music, but I feel like it's a mixture of like that folk busking days storytelling, then with kind of like more soul-y, jazzy melodies. And then I was listening to a lot of like doo-wop and waltz. Like I feel like a lot of what I write these days, like in 6/8, it's very like waltzy. I feel like kind of like old Disney movie-esque. But then the new stuff again is almost leading more into that kind of, I feel like I want it to be more fun. I'm listening to a lot more upbeat music and kind of going into that more R&B territory to kind of like tie it all together. So it's a lot of different genres happening.
Right, yeah. I think it's kind of good though to not be able to describe what you're making. I mean, it's good to reflect on it and stuff, but I think if you can immediately put it into a box, I think it can be a bit dead sometimes, you know, at least for me. And I think describing it in ways that aren't strictly genres of music is great. Like your Disney analogy just there paints a bigger picture in my mind about what the music is trying to do, and it resonates with how I perceive your sound. And I think the vocals are so central to your music. They seem to be such a pillar. And so I'm curious how that side of things works for you. Like that ability, did it come from busking, doing it over and over again, or how did you develop that craft of voice?
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I've always felt a little bit insecure in my musician ability. That's the word, my persona as a musician. Like I always felt like I was a little bit like, you know, cosplaying, is that the word?
Yeah.
Like being a musician. Like, because I'm not like, you know, a massively talented guitarist, or like I kind of stopped playing the fiddle when I was 15, and I don't have that like, you know, amazing piano ability, but I feel like I always kind of leaned more into my voice and tried to kind of like hone that, because I was like, that's something like, you know, I've been doing since I was a kid. Like I've always been singing and like being in choirs and stuff growing up. Like I felt like it was something that I had more agency over than the likes of like, you know, I haven't been playing piano since I was 4 years old, you know, so it felt like more of a like an able thing to do. And then I think busking as well like helped so much, because I used to like, I feel like when I first started singing, it was like my take on what singing should sound like. But then through busking and then like just singing over the years. I feel like I'm still only now finding like my actual true voice. You know, as a singer, like when I listen back to like the videos of me busking, I'm like, I sound like a different person. Like, it doesn't even sound like my voice. And I think everyone, even now, doesn't sound like my talking voice when I like, there's still probably elements of like an English or American twang and like my vocal. It's so hard not to. And you're listening to so much of that music. But I feel like it's just from doing it over and over and over again. Like I remember there's this girl that plays the concertina, woman rather, on Grafton Street. And she used to call me the Banshee of Grafton Street because when I used to sing, I used to like elongate every word. And I remember like this hurt me so much. I was like, this bitch, like, but I was like, it actually like really like, I need to like take that back. So I remember like over COVID listening to a lot of like musicians and the way they do like vocal phrasing and like create rhythm with vocals and stuff. Like, how do I make, you know, not every song sound the same by like blending my vocal into each other. So there was an element of, you know, going back to the drawing board.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's funny when I talk to people about their voice, it's rarely their actual literal voice. It's usually expressed through other mediums. Like, I'm including myself in that, you know, whereas with you, it's such a raw form of creation. Like there's no frills or nothing to hide behind, I suppose, which is, I guess, a testament to your talent. You know, like production wise, do you consciously think about placing your voice at the forefront, or is that just what happens naturally?
I think definitely. Yeah, it's funny. I haven't really thought about it like that in terms of like, yeah, because like with a lot of art forms, like your voice is, you know, how you express yourself and what you put out. But for music, a lot of it is like, you know, you literally are the voice, you know, which is kind of interesting, scary. Yeah, in terms of producing, again, it kind of comes back to that feeling of being insecure as a musician. It's better being, again, like being intentional of what you're good at and what you do. And I think like my vocal is something I'm comfortable in and I know how to do it. I know what I want to do with it. It's like I kind of try to make that the forefront a lot of the time. And like I had some stuff on my first EP where we tried some different things and, you know, with more kind of, what are they called? Instruments behind. And in terms of the music that I make now, it's like I always feel like the voice has to be like front and center. But I've also, it's like, I was talking to my friend about this the other day and I was like, saying, I need to go back to like vocal lessons. Like I really need to like learn how to like, you know, belt and do those really cool like ornamentations and like Adele. And like there's this musician I loved called Sienna Spiro. She's basically had these like really big belty songs. She has this really big loud like Amy Winehouse voice and she's amazing, like incredible. And I've been like, God, I really need to like, you know, I need to be like that. And my friend Taylor was like, but that's not you. Like you don't, why do you have to be that now? And the way he put it, it was so like, oh, like I suppose, yeah, like I don't have to, just because I really like that person's music doesn't mean I have to then, you know, go to vocal lessons and get this massive belting voice to this thing. It's like, that's not what my music is. It's not what it does. So it's like, yeah, finding the way that works for my voice and, you know, not trying to do something else with it, you know?
Yeah, I think surely you can't go wrong with, as you say, leaning more into what makes your voice your own. So
Literally.
what would be your process? Like, take me through creating a song from start to finish. Is it a case of like you're keeping notes and then pulling them all together, or?
It's definitely a mixture of different things. There's no go-to format for me. I'd love to have a go-to format because I feel like I really need it right now. But it's very much like a lot of my songs get lost into the ether, which I'm sure every single musician, you know, finds it that way. It's like voice memos because I'm very melody driven. And a lot of melodies kind of just come to me with different, you know, random lyrics. And then it's kind of like that works, you know. The last thing would be always going back to the guitar.
Right.
And I find that my best songs come from the melodies and the lyrics created that then go to the guitar. But obviously a lot of songs do come from like, oh, this is a cool chord progression. And then a melody naturally comes over that. But I find when I do that, it tends to get quite boring because I'm just coming up with the same melodies in different formats.
Yeah, but that makes a lot of sense. I suppose you're sort of in that way leaning into a more like subconscious place first.
Yeah.
You know, it's getting to the root of the idea and making that strong without, you know, before there's other distractions or you start layering things on, which I always think is a helpful process when you're making anything.
Yeah, because I get very lost in the writing part in terms of like, I just get very, you know, tunnel vision with it. So like that can go on for hours and then it's like, oh, okay, in the bin, you know. So it's like I'm trying a lot recently to like really just, you know, get the core melody down, rough lyrics down, then kind of coming back to it and reworking it, because otherwise it's nothing. It's that thing again of the fear of it not being perfect, not being right. So it's like making it be a bit bad before you make it good.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you're at the guitar, it's like, okay, music time, let's go, you know, and there's just so much pressure and like overthinking for me anyways, like in that realm. The guitar means serious. I think it's because I really want to get better at guitar and like trying to give it time. So like it's kind of like violin practice for me at the moment. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, because it is like, it is hard work. You have to be like, okay, I'm going to give like, you know, a block to this and just redo that same pattern or chord or whatever it is, like over and over again. And it is, but it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like now I get to teach my mum guitar, do you know? So it's like it's 360 of like, I remember she tried to teach me like E minor as like the first chord, and it's like the easiest chord on the guitar.
Yeah.
And that's as far as I got when I was a kid. But like now she's trying to relearn, and it's like giving me, it's like, hey, yeah, maybe I actually am okay at guitar. You know what I mean?
But that sounds like such a great relationship you guys have, just in how it's like a cycle where she passes on this love for singing and you can then teach her guitar. It just sounds like a really nice, creative give and take.
Yeah, it is. She's very like, she's still, if she could, she would be a singer on stage. So it's like she even comes to like every single one of my gigs, and I would love to bring her on stage at some point. She's an amazing singer, but she just doesn't have the, I guess, space for it, which is actually kind of sad that like for older generation of people, there's not that, you know, space to like just, because I even feel like if you went to an open, I suppose you would get open mics, people, it's more, I don't know.
No, you're right. It's definitely more rare for that opportunity to be there once you pass a certain age bracket or something, for sure. I think it's seen as being quite random then or something.
Yeah.
But how did you find, just going back to that sort of going on stage element, how did you find the transition going from busking on the street to like a KK Lewis gig that people have paid to come and see?
Yeah.
Is it different, or
Oh, it's so different.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Like even sometimes when I play, like I've been booked to do like certain support slots for, it's like for bands or whatever that is like loud, heavy music, or it's very much not me. And even I find sometimes there, I'm just like, I'm feeling like very insecure in myself. I'm just like, these people do not sign up to hear this music, you know. But when I opened up for Fionn Regan. He's a folk artist, and it's artist I love. Like, it's incredible music. And like when I was playing that gig, for example, like I felt super confident in myself, because I was like, these people are here for this music that is kind of like my music. And it's like they're here to hear, you know, slow music or whatever it is. And there was like, I felt confident in that, and you know, I can do this. But and when it's my own shows, it as well, it's like they're signing up KK Lewis, I'm gonna get them KK Lewis. You know, there's a whole different level of confidence there. And then again, it depends on the vibe and the feel of a certain gig. It can go from like, over Christmas I played, probably shouldn't name the things, but it was a gig anyways, and I remember it was just like the crowd weren't giving anything. Like it was just so hard to like get anything from them, and I was trying to like, usually when always I'm like, I'd say like kind of an emptier room, I always like encourage people to come to the front, so it's not this like weird empty space in the middle. And I remember like no one moved, and I was like, oh shit, like, oh, this is gonna be tough, like it's gonna be a tough half an hour. And then I remember I was, straight after the gig, I was supporting a band downstairs who was like this old band from the 80s, and I got asked to do it like last minute. And you wouldn't put our music in the same bracket whatsoever. But they were so up for it, and it was like a whole different level of confidence. So it was like the feel from the room as well massively impacts how the gig can go, like, do you know?
And what do you think signifies a successful gig for you? Like, what thoughts would be at the top of your mind when you feel like it went well? Like, is that when the crowd is involved, or is it when you feel like you performed the song as well, or is it something way more abstract?
I feel like it's when the crowd's involved. Like there's an element of the crowd, not even necessarily them moving, or it's the feeling you get from them being like, oh, they're in this. And I think that in turn as well makes me just have more like fluid movement. So when I'm like able to walk around the stage and, you know, do my hand motions or whatever it is, like without even thinking, like sometimes I find a gig, it's like, okay, I'm raising my hand now and it's going back to the microphone. Like when I'm not thinking about those things and there's like fluid movement on stage, like I come away being like, oh, that was fun. Like,
it's like you're getting into a flow state almost. Like,
oh my God, 100%.
You want to lose yourself, because I feel like, you know, like in sports, when you have a great game, it's almost because you were able to get out of your head. Or
it's probably in a way of everything in life, of like when you're in that flow state, it's like when you're out and you're chatting with your friends for like, you know, the course of 3 hours, and you're just in this flow of like, you come out feeling so good. Like,
but I also think that's what the addicting part of creating art is, like that experience of being able to completely lose yourself, and especially when you can share it with other people, you know. I think,
Yeah.
how do you find collaboration in that sense? Like, and how does that typically work for you? Is that you and a producer usually, or I suppose when you're playing live, you have a band. So how is that collaboration process for you?
I find it quite nerve-wracking. The past 2 years I've been playing with my friend Taylor, which has been such a beautiful experience because I took a break from music there for a while after COVID. And because I had like created a friendship with him, playing together felt so natural and so fun. And it reignited this like love for music for me, and like being on stage, like to be like, give someone a glance, or do you need to make a joke with somebody, but if no one laughed, it was okay because you guys are laughing about it together, you know?
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's like collaborating feels fun when there's a friendship generated there, you know? And I think like I'm forming a band at the moment, like we're doing like a 4-piece, and it's like so nerve-wracking for me because I have that kind of imposter syndrome again of being like, I don't have the right, you know, to be like manning around a band and saying like play this or play that, you know. But it's like I know it'll feel more comfortable when I'm more like, oh, we're friends, we know each other. So I think it's always getting over that barrier of like that trusting we were talking about earlier on, you know, and trusting people and getting on a familiar basis with people, and then I think collaboration can really work. Because I know a lot of people like go on like writing sessions, and I find that really scary. But it's probably a thing of like, if I did it more often, it would be just as easy. But it's like the idea of going in and being like, okay, this is, you know, I'll do the melody, I'll do the lyrics. I don't know how I would do that. I feel like I'd be so scared.
Yeah.
You know?
Collaboration is interesting that way, I think, because it's more than just needing technical help all the time. You know, obviously folding someone else into your process or adapting to someone else's is definitely a challenge in itself. But I mean, for me, I think it's also just largely about having some company, you know, like, because it can be so isolating when you work in this kind of like locked off way that's so down to how you think and what you do.
That's the hardest thing. I find like a lot of art forms are very insular, you know. It takes a lot of solitude and being alone, and a lot of like, you know, loneliness and sadness can come. I think collaboration is super important, but it's hard. I think the good stuff comes from being alone, but I think someone can bring out things from you that you're not letting yourself take out, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And so how did that play into the break from music you mentioned earlier? Were you still writing stuff when you were alone and just not releasing it, or were you working with other people, or was that just a complete stop?
I was still playing, like, you know, and writing and stuff, but I think for a long time music was, you know, I remember releasing my first project and I'd put so much money and so much effort and love and energy into it. And I was like relying on money as well entirely. And my social life was music. So every part of my life was music and relying on music. And it got to a point like after I released that, I remember it was COVID as well. So I couldn't even play live to like make money back from the record or like, etc. And then we were all locked inside. So it was just this massive like, oh my God, like I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah.
So I just need to, it wasn't even an intention like I'm taking a break from music. Like I never made that decision. I just distanced myself slowly. And I reconnected with old friends, and I created a friend group that wasn't, you know, revolving around music. And I just kind of, I guess I was in my early 20s for a couple of years, and like there was constant guilt, you know, of like, I should be creating, I should be writing, like, you know, I started later than everyone else already. Like I don't have this time to be wasting, you know. But when I look back, it's like I needed that so bad. You know, if I didn't do that, I probably would have just made bad music anyways, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like there can be such an intense sort of sense of like running out of time or something I get when trying to make art that I don't really have with anything else. Like I can be so lazy with other things, and then, you know, be like, there's no time to express myself through this sketch or whatever, you know.
You get paralyzed. Like
Yeah, and yet to your point, it's in that time when I'm not doing it where I always gather the like inspiration to keep going with whatever the idea is.
But then the thing comes, I think, from when you take a step away and you stop creating, and you stop kind of like having the, you know, the doing of it. It's like when you're not in it, then there comes the whole fear aspect of like, oh, I gotta do this again. Oh, I've got to do it really good now. I got to really show them all, like, you know. And then hence that turned into another like year, 2 years of like putting off releasing music again because I was like, no one's gonna care now.
Yeah.
You know?
And so was Pigeon Man the first song you released after coming back?
Yeah.
And what made you know that was the right song to begin with? Or was it less about the song and more about where you were at?
I think it was always a song. That was always a song. I was like, that's gonna be my song that I'm gonna release. And it was like I worked on that with, I don't know if you know Sexy Tyke.
No, I don't know.
They're like this, oh God, amazing. You gotta go to one of their shows. But an amazing pianist. But they lived in my house for a couple weeks over COVID, and we worked on this song together, and they just made it into this like gorgeous arrangement. Like I remember I remember when we finished it, it was like, oh, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
And then from playing it live, it was always a song that people were like, oh wow, like that song, I really relate to that song. I broke up with my boyfriend, or like it was a lot of that, you know, people like really kind of like relating with it. And there was a lot of different reasons like that. That's going to be the first. And it was also an element as well of like, it's such a raw song. It's like in that song, in the recording, it's literally only like strings, piano and me, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it felt like a less scary thing to do as well, of like, you know, this is the rawest form of my music. It's just a piano ballad. And it was a nice way to kind of just steer my way back in. It felt like less daunting because like it's not a big production, not this big thing. It's me.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Yeah. I think that's what I really love about it. It feels very authentic and like it's leaning into that idea we talked about earlier, which is just letting the core of the concept be enough to carry it, you know, which is scary because you're sort of stripping away all distractions and it forces you to like really focus on the one central element and bring that to a place where you can accept it in, like you say, that raw form, and even letting that raw form just be the final form if it calls for it.
That's funny. I feel like I actually need to do that right now as well. And as you're saying that, because it is so true. You get so like caught up in like all the different parts that are making something. It's like sometimes like strip it back. You know?
Yeah, it is for some reason like deceptively the hardest thing to have that restraint.
Yeah.
But alongside that, I do feel like you're very good at sort of the publicity element and sharing your work online and through social media when, you know, you do have to bring all this extra stuff to support the song. How does that side of things work for you? Like, is that something that comes naturally to you, or is that something you have to think a lot about?
No, I think a lot about it. It takes a lot of time. It's kind of a funny thing. Like a lot of artists, I mean, I did for a long time, gave out about social media. I was like, I don't want I'm here to create. I don't want to make TikToks, you know, but it came to a point, it was like, this is actually brilliant. Because I was like, if I can do this good and I just get over myself and make it work, I can essentially make TikTok what a label will be for me. Like I can be independent.
Yeah.
But, you know, use this to my advantage and just, you know, drink the Kool-Aid essentially and do the cringe stuff online, you know. And when I'd recorded the song, I started like using TikTok, but I was very much, you know, doing vlogs and doing kind of stupid stuff. And then I was like, why am I doing that? That made me feel bad because I was like, oh, I actually, like, this makes me, I've no reason to be putting this online. It doesn't feel true to me. It doesn't feel right. And then I remember my friends being like, why don't you just start like, you know, putting your music? I was like, oh, that's cringe. Jesus Christ, that's cringe. And then anyways, one day I just started and I was like, okay, I'm going to just do this consistently. And there was a girl that I was watching as well who I saw was just doing consistently. She was doing it consistently as our fan base growing, and she actually started to get opportunities. I was like, that's possible. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm just going to do this thing. And I started posting like maybe like 4 or 5 times a week. They were getting like, you know, 400 views, 500 views. Some got 0 views. Like, it was just like throwing like shit at a wall, you know. And then I had one video that kind of like, of my last EP, I had some videos that like did well, like in terms of like the BTS and kind of those kind of things. But then they kind of started to like stick and people started to engage. And whatever happened along the way, I got this like teenage group of girls on TikTok that just really started hardcore following me. And they like made so many things possible for me in terms of music. And I was like, wow, like I did this all on my own, you know, just by posting videos. And I just like stripped it so back and just did, you know, text with me, you know, about my story or whatever it is. And now I have a Discord chat of all these like young girls I get to chat to. And like they message me now being like, oh, I really want to be a singer and I want to do music. And can I have some advice? And like giving them advice, like, I don't know how to do this. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But you took the power like into your own hands.
Exactly. Cause like I remember like during that first EP, I had so much like mopiness about me. I was like, oh, like I need a label, I need a manager, I need an agent. Like, and they're just, it's not fair. Like everyone else has one. I don't have one. And it's kind of like TikTok is that like, okay, like you can do this yourself.
Yeah. I think that willingness as well to commit is always commendable when it comes to, you know, sharing something that you've made.
Yeah.
Even if, you know, you're not seeing those immediate results, it's still like, okay, I'm going to put this stuff out there anyway and just like.
Yeah. And I think some people still like, I guess, would look at my TikTok, whatever it is, be like, oh, Jesus Christ, it's cringe. But it's like, it's an element of like, what are you trying to do?
Yeah. But that's putting yourself out there, you know?
It is like, and that's the whole part of it.
Yeah.
And it's really like, I don't know, yeah, it's taking it into your own hands.
Yeah.
Not waiting for that magic wand to come and do everything for you.
Exactly. I usually just end then by asking one more time if there's any other insights related to creativity that maybe have been helpful for you along the way, that you can think of.
I think this might be a controversial opinion, but allowing influence from other art forms, like books. I know I was saying earlier on that I didn't read as a kid, but like in my 20s, I was the same. I was like, I started reading, I was like, wow, this is so good. And a lot of like my lyrics and like imagery for me is inspired by like, I got a Kindle and it just changed my life. I love it so much.
Right.
Because you can highlight phrases or sentences or words. And it's like, oh wow, that is such a pretty way of saying that thing. And it's like, even in songs, or the way someone can create like a word painting. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
It's that for me, I feel like allow yourself to tap into other people's creativity. I think for a long time I was like, no, I've got to be 100% original. Everything's got to come like authentically from me. And it's like, you can actually learn a lot from other people's music and even paintings and films. You can take so much from that and how you interpret it.